Hello everyone, my name is Maria Schoenenberger and welcome to Lampwork Glass Beads, the LePoppet way, here on Udemy. I have been a Lampwork glass bead artist since 2003 and I have done a lot in my career, including owning studios. I've been to galleries and shows, and I have taught a lot of people how to make glass beads like these up here. So today on Udemy, we're going to make this beautiful little pendant that you probably can't see. It's a great pendant. It's a wonderful pendant, and it's a lot of fun to make. So let's go in the studio and get started. Here is our class syllabus for today. You've already seen the introduction and the syllabus and prerequisites I'm doing right now. Then we're going to have some preparation before we go ahead and make our bead. And that's basically pulling the leaf cane. And I'm going to show you how to make some encased cane for the grapes. Then we'll go ahead and we'll make the bead, and I'm going to shape it using the technique from my basic bead shape class. So if you guys are enrolled in that class, you may want to review the part about making a bicone. Then we're going to finish up the bead after it's been kiln annealed and cleaned. I'm going to show you how to put the findings on it and make it into a pendant. And then we'll have a quick wrap up. And that's basically it for today, you guys. All right, enough of this paperwork. Let's get started. As far as prerequisites go, this class is meant for everyone. So whether you're working on a surface mix torch like that minor, or you're working on a map canister torch like this fireworks torch, this class and all of the techniques will work on both torches. So I didn't want to leave anyone out. I know sometimes I feel like the people who work on map canisters, they're left out of some classes. I didn't want to do that. So everyone is welcome. I work on a surface mix torch, but just know that everything I do on this torch, you can also do on this torch. Now, as far as other prerequisites go, you guys should have a basic understanding of Lampwork safety precautions, how to manage your torch safely. You should have some decent glass handling skills, proper ventilation, and of course, you're going to need some safety glasses or didymium glasses so you can see your work. I will be spouting off different safety aspects throughout the class, so make sure you take notes of that. All the materials and the supplies and the tools, they're all really readily available through your Lampwork suppliers. And I will give you a list in the resource section in the introduction lecture of who I buy from and where you can get the equipment and supplies. Also, I would really highly recommend that you guys have a kiln for annealing your beads. You don't want to sell any beads that haven't been annealed. You want them to be strong and durable, and when they get dropped on the floor, they're not going to break. So, look into getting a kiln. And that's about it. The rest of the tools and the supplies, I will shout out those during each of the lectures. And yeah, let's get started. We're going to start our class today with the preparation work. And the first item that we need to prepare is our encased canes for making our grapes. Now, what is an encased cane? Well, it's simply an opaque glass like this Creation is Messy Grape. and it is covered with a transparent glass, like this Creation is Messy, Simply Berry. And what you get is little canes that look like this. These are hand-pulled canes. And the reason I like to use them is because transparent glass is a little stiffer than opaque glass. And so when you put the glass down next to each other, the colors don't run together. You can keep a very good separation between your elements on your glass bead. And this makes a great grapes. Great grapes? Can I say that really fast? And I'll show you once we get started putting on the grapes, how these encased cane keeps the glass separated even though it's melted down. So let's get started pulling this first cane. My torch is on, and I'm going to start out by just slowly heating up this transparent Simply Berry and slowly heating up this opaque Grape. Oops. And see, there you go. That is why we heat things up slowly, because sometimes they experience thermal shock and they go pew and little chunks fly off. But that's okay. Don't panic. Just point stuff away from you so it doesn't break off in your shirt. And that Grape, that opaque glass on the top, I'm getting it warm, but I'm not getting it hot and soupy. So we want it to be hot so that transparent will stick, but not where it flops around. And that transparent is getting nice and hot and soupy. And all we're gonna do is make some loop-de-loops, some wraps around that opaque glass. So just pretend that opaque glass is like a mandrel, and then just go ahead and wrap it with the transparent glass, just like so. And you don't need a whole lot here, you guys, just a little bit. I think I'm like maybe a ½ an inch in from the end there. It's always hard because you think you need to do like a whole bunch of glass, but you really don't. A ½ inch length will do. Once we get this melted down and stretched out, it'll be the perfect length we need to do our grapes. Okay, I'm getting close to the end there. I'm going to stop. And I have a little marver here, and I'm just going to go ahead and melt down that transparent and marver it smooth. I like, when I pull these encased canes, I like to marver it down. I don't want any ridges in it. I just think that that might be an area where there's some stress, and then when you pull a stressed out area, the whole length of the cane is stressed out, and then it cracks on you and breaks and is a little bit fragile. Just marvering it smooth into a barrel. That little tippy end I'm just going to poke in flat. There we go. Maybe one more marver here. I got a big bulge right there. I want that to kind of melt away. Okay, that looks good. Now I have my tweezers, my big tweezers here, and I'm just going to heat up that barrel till it's soft, and then we're going to pull it. And remember, if you pull hot and fast, you're going to get a skinny cane, but if you pull slow and cool, you're going to get a fat cane. And I want kind of a medium fat cane. So let's grab a portion of it, let it cool a bit, and then a slow pull, just like that. And there, that's about 1 millimeter in diameter. I like it. I'm going to flame cut it. And because I'm kind of worried, I'm going to go ahead and make another one. But that's how you make your encased canes. The next cane that we're going to pull is going to be our leaf and our vines. And so I have some Effetre Green Cave, which is a really beautiful olive green. And I'm going to make a paddle out of that, and I'm going to stripe that paddle with some autumn colors. Brown, I've got some yellow ochre, and I've got some orange. So let me get that paddle going, and I'll show you how it's done. Flame on, and I am heating up the end of that olive green cave, I guess it's called. And I just want to get maybe, I don't know, a pea-size gather on the end of that green. And then I'm going to smash it and make a paddle. And then we're going to pull it into what is called a straight ribbon cane. So there's a nice little gather of glass. And I have my little mini mashers here, which are great. And if you're a beginner starting out, this is probably one of the tools you want to get first, is some good mini mashers. Okay, so there's our flat little paddle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply take my colors and I'm going to stripe them along this paddle on both sides. And don't worry if it breaks off like that, because in the end it's not going to matter. You're not going to see it. I'm going for, in nature, oh my gosh, I'm having all kinds of issues today. I'm going for, in nature, those little veins that you see in leaves. So that's the whole gist of the idea here. So I just put orange down on both sides, and now I'm going to put a yellow down, like so. There we go. And now I'm going to put the brown down. Put the brown down. Just stripe that little paddle like so. Okay, now all we got to do is melt that paddle down, and we're going to pull it, but we're going to pull it straight. And you know what? I'm going to kind of help things out here by giving it another little mash. There, now all those stripes are mashed down. Now we can go and pull our cane. Heat it up nice and hot, like so. And then I'm just going to grab the end here with my tweezers, and I'm going to pull it straight. And because it's in a paddle shape, you're going to get kind of a thin ribbon. And those colors are going to stretch out, and you're going to have some nice veins in your leaf cane. Now, let me go ahead and pull it off. It's coming off in sections here. All right, the second thing, I want to pull some vines, and the vines are just the same paddle cane. I usually use the end there, but they're very skinny. So we're going to get it super hot. I'm going to grab a little piece of it, and I'm going to pull it pretty fast. And look how thin that cane is. It's very, very small and skinny. And that makes great vines. And there you go. That is our vine cane and our leaf cane. Okay, I'm off. Here we go. I have some Effetre Opal Yellow, which is what I'm going to make my base bead out of. Opal Yellow is an interesting glass in the fact that it does some strange things, color shifting things when you get it nice and hot. So we'll see if we can coax some of that out. Unfortunately, I never see what it does until the glass comes out of the kiln. So, you know, it's like a Christmas present. Oh, look what happened. So I'm going to go ahead and start laying down a whole bunch of glass. I think I'm going to do like 7 or 8 wraps across. This is going to be an oval bead, and we're going to go ahead and hand marver this into the oval shape. So I wanted to start from the very, very beginning and show you guys how this all comes together. So I may talk a lot, I may not. If I have something to say. Okay, so there you go. My little end broke off, but it's all right because I can just heat up what's left and go down and pick up that piece that popped off and then heat it up and keep going. So don't panic if your glass breaks like that, especially those of you who are like me and have no patience and I just want to go fast, and I always have ends that break off because I want to go so fast and I don't take the time to really heat up my bead. Now I've totally lost count of how many wraps I've done. So we're gonna eyeball it. I think that looks good. I like it. Now we're gonna put some amethyst caps on the end of it. So make sure you leave enough room on your mandrel with the bead release to put those caps on. And now you can see I'm kind of running out of glass here, and it's getting hot on my fingertips. So I luckily planned ahead, and I've got another rod. And now I'm going to heat up the new rod, and I'm going to go attach the old rod, and we'll just keep going. And this is how I save my shorties. I just this is called making a little punty when you put two of them together, just like so. And that's how I get to use all of my glass up. Glass is expensive, and I don't like wasting it. So when I have little shorties like this, I just attach them to new rods and I just keep going. So I think I have a video on my YouTube channel about saving the shorties. So take a look at that, you guys. Don't throw away your shorties. I think over the course of the year it adds up to like a lot of money that you don't want to go to waste. Alright, I am putting a second wrap on my first one, and it's going to go all the way down the length of that bead, like so. Here we go. I think I got 2 more wraps to go. I am paying attention to the ends, trying to get that puckered hole, but since we're going to put caps on it, it's not that important. It's important to practice though. There's an opportunity for practice, so why not? Alright, and then right in the center of this bead, I am going to add a third wrap, just in the center, because that is the material that's going to help us make this nice fat oval bead. And one more. I think I did 3 wraps across in the center. And that looks good. Alright, let me put my rod away. And now we start shaping. And I've got that little graphite marver that I've shown in other classes, and it's just setting on top of a bigger marver. And we're going to make one of the bicones, which is one of the basic shapes that I had in my basic shape class. So I'm heating up one side, I'm angling my mandrel downwards, and I'm just going to smoosh it down into a cone shape. And then I'm going to go to the other side here, heating that up, getting it pretty hot. And I'm going to angle my mandrel downwards and shape that into a cone. And there you go, there's your cone. Now to make the oval, go ahead and heat up the center and just lightly marver down that pointy part in the center. So now you've got kind of a flat part in the center and angles on both sides, and then you can just go ahead and heat it up and kind of get everything smoothed out. And that's how you get a nice oval bead. Now you can also buy bead rollers that do that, but I don't know, they're expensive, and I wanted to show you guys how to hand do this. Okay, let's start decorating. Step 1 is putting on the vines. So I got my little skinny vine cane here. I'm going to go ahead and turn down my torch a little bit. And with the vines, you know, vines just go all over the place. So just go ahead, get it in the flame, and then just kind of draw. Don't force it. Okay, just let the glass melt and go wherever it wants. You can move that mandrel around so that you're moving the bead and not necessarily the cane. and that'll help you get some nice vines down. Now I'm going to melt these down, and I'm going to go back and forth from my marver just to kind of maintain the shape and to get things to kind of flatten out a bit. There we go. All right, grapes. Let's put on some grapes. And I've got my encased cane here. And let's get started. So the first grapes I do, they're pretty big. So I'm going to start at the top, and now it's just putting down dots. And I think of a pyramid when I make these grapes. So I do 4 dots across the top and another 4 dots right underneath those, like so. And I'm not too worried about this first ones because they're just a layer. But go ahead and make like a triangle. So 2 rows of 4 dots, 2 rows of 3 dots, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 rows of 2 dots, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then for the 1 dot at the bottom, you know, sometimes you know how grapes, they kind of go to the side like that. So there you go, that's the first layer. And now what I'm going to do is go in and add a second layer and kind of put those grapes where there's some spaces. And what this does is it gives your grapes just some height and some texture, and it's really fun. And you'll see when you pull this out of the kiln that even though those dots are on top of each other, the colors don't run together. And that's because we're using this encased cane. And there you go. That's your first grape. Now, on the exact opposite side, I do the same thing. So, 4 rows across. Here we go. And just get into your little zen zone there. Now, you're going to want to keep those grapes on the other side warm, because you got to keep those little dots warm or else they'll pop off and break. So, do a couple rows and then go heat up those grapes, and heat up the ends of your bead too, because where it breaks is going to be where the glass is the thinnest, and that's usually on the ends. So just do a couple rows. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do another row of 3. 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to stop, heat up the dots, heat up the ends, and then go back in and do 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, and then go heat everything up. And as you're flashing this and heating this up, your dots will start to melt down and melt flat. So you really don't have to flatten them out with a marver. They just kind of naturally do that as you're going in and keeping them warm. All right, I got my first rows down. Let's just go in and fill in these grapes. Now I made purple grapes, but you can certainly do like red grapes, look great. I've also, oh my God, if you want a good Chardonnay, go with like a yellow and then encase it in like an amber, and that'll give you a really nice gold grape. Now I've got another stringer here. I've got my 2 big grapes on, and now I'm going to go ahead and make some smaller ones right like that. And maybe these ones I don't do 4 across, but I only do 3 across. You know, it's a grape, you guys, so make it look like a grape. To me, grapes have a triangle shape, so I always start out with a triangle, and then I just fill stuff in as I see is necessary. Keeping everything nice and warm. Now you can also, when you make your grapes, you can start out with like the darker purple on the bottom and maybe highlight it with some lighter purples, like putting a pink opaque with a purple transparent. So you can play around with your colors when you're making these encased canes. I got a little baby grape here. Let me fill in the spots. Okay, yay! All right, so now I'm gonna put in the little stems, and I'm keeping that bead nice and warm. Let's go ahead and make sure those dots are melting down. And I've just got a little bit of gray here, a hand-pulled stringer, and I'm just gonna put a dot at the top of each grape. Like so. Like so there. And like so there. Okay. And on those ones, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of pat down those little stems. Just pat them down, make sure there's no sharp pointy parts. And also just take a look at your grapes. Make sure there's no really hugely sticking up dots. You definitely don't want any sharp points. You want everything to be nice and smooth. All right, now we're gonna put on the leaves. So I have that leaf cane that we made from our paddle. And my leaves, they just come off the stems. And also I look for areas like on the vines. Put them where you think you need them. Don't be shy with the leaves. There we go. Here's a stem there. I definitely have them coming off each of the stems. Push down, drag, pull up. You're basically pushing that glass into a leaf shape. And sometimes they're pretty and sometimes they're not, but you know what? That's how nature is too, right? Okay, and now I'm gonna go in with my sculpting tool. Just take a look at those leaves. Any sharp pointy parts, go ahead, smash them down. I think that looks good. All right, and then the final part of this bead is I've got some Creation is Messy Your Majesty, which is a lighter transparent purple. It's lighter than the Simply Berry. The Simply Berry is very dark, but this is a little bit lighter, and it is in the purple family. So since we're doing purple grapes, we'll do purple caps. And I'm just heating this up, and I'm gonna put one loop on each end. And this is now where I pay attention to puckered holes. So go ahead, put it down, and then melt it around. Let those puckered holes form. It's looking good, that's looking good. If you want, you can marver it a little bit just to help it along. Let's do the other end here. Years and years and years ago, I made my mom a necklace out of these grapes, and I had like 5 big giant focal beads like this, and then I used these amethyst chips to kind of make the chain part. It came out so pretty. There we go. I think I got my caps on good. That one looks great. Okay, I think I'm happy with that, you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the kiln, and I will show you the final bead when it comes out, but that is a fun bead. So my beads are done annealing, and while I'm here, I should have told you guys this earlier. I annealed both of these beads at 960 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour. And then I went ahead and I turned the kiln off, and I just let them cool down to room temperature. And then I brought them over here to my dirty, yucky sink, and I soaked them in hot water for about half an hour just to loosen up that bead release. Now, also while we're here, let's go ahead and talk about, this is that opal yellow glass. And you can see here, I've got some type of color changes going on. I like opal yellow. It looks a little bit on the antique-y side. And then this bead over here, this was straight effetre ivory. And so you can see how the opal yellow, I don't know, it just looks a little more aged and a little more antique. You can also see on this bead, I hope, I'm not sure, maybe, you can see how those grapes, they have the color on the inside, that opaque color, but they're all separated by that transparent layer of glass that was around the opaque. So using these encased canes is really good when you want a lot of definition in your design. And then finally, and I'm not sure you're going to be able to see it, but if you look real close, these leaves, they have the little veins of yellow and orange and brown, and they look very, very autumny. Okay, like I said, I stuck these in the hot water for a little bit, and now I'm going to clean them. So I have a rubber glove because it's just easier to grasp that bead. I'm going to grasp the other end with my pliers here and just give it a twist, and hopefully it'll come off. Now these bigger beads, sometimes they get a little stuck, but just some nice hot water and you will be able to pull them right off the mandrels. Now once I get that done, I have my trusty Dremel tool here. I'm just going to turn on some water, and I'm just going to take that Dremel tool into the hole and grind out the bead release. And this is a process. Go ahead and grind it out, rinse it out under the water, flip it around, and get the other side. And that's how we clean our beads. I'm going to give it a good rinse. I'm going to keep going, and then I'm going to show you how to put the findings on to make a pendant. Let's finish this bead off. I have a little head pin here. I think it's like a 2-inch head pin that I got at the craft store. And then I just found these little filigree silver beads. I'm going to put one on the head pin first, and then I'm going to put my bead on. Now make sure that your grapes are facing the right direction, okay? Not facing backwards. Because how do I know? Because I did that the first time. All right, the little filigree goes on the top, just like so. And then I'm going to take my jewelry pliers, and I'm going to grab that head pin wire, and I'm going to turn it 90 degrees from the bead. And then I'm going to make a loop over the top of the pliers and pull those pliers out, grab the loop, and start wrapping that leftover wire around your loop. And as you wrap, it'll get tighter and tighter until your filigree is nice and snug against the top of your bead. And once you like where it is, go ahead and snip off the extra with your little jewelry nippers. And then I always do a final inspection to make sure that that little wire is really tucked in so you don't get poked while you're wearing it. And there you go, you guys. That is your grape pendant. Congratulations. It looks awesome. Congratulations, everyone, on making this wonderful grape pendant. I hope you had a lot of fun. I had a blast. Thank you so much for joining me today on Udemy. Keep your eyes peeled on this classroom because I have a lot of classes coming up. And I will see you the next time. Bye.